There are 5 of us, so I think that gives us a quorum. We have more than half. I think according to Robert's Rules of Order, I believe we can proceed. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and get to our agenda. All right. Wow, we are honored.
Hi.
I just said I didn't know if Wendy was traveling or if she'd be available, but
Not traveling.
good.
Had a crazy life these days.
No,
All
no,
good.
all right, we have
Sorry.
a more reinforced quorum. So, okay, so a meeting has been called to order.
Hello.
Do we have any members of the public?
Nice to meet you, Wendy.
Other, only external presence is Jeff coming in by video. So we have no members of the public. So if somebody should join, we'll accept public comment. Do we have a motion to approve the February 4th minutes?
On the motion.
Eileen makes the motion.
I'll second. Oh,
Go
go
All
ahead.
right.
Go for it.
Madeline seconds. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it carries. Next item is the chair's report. And I have been very, very contemplative about, our going forward now with our strategic plan. So I kind of have good news and bad news. I'm going to give you the bad news first. The bad news is that Morrissey's Cycle Shop is moving out of town. Yet another business that is, folding up, if you will. We have the vacant white elephants of the Cherry Stones and the Grill along Shore Road. We've got Blackhall Outfitters up for sale. We have Old Lime Pizza Palace up for sale. And I don't want to be all gloom and doom. So the reality is the Board of Finance is looking to us now with quite a lot of seriousness to reverse this. And Jeffrey, our budget was submitted for $7,000.
Roughly 7,500. Yeah, it was less than the guidance that the commissioners gave us. So yes, that was submitted.
And the actual budget that's come back, I believe, is $17,000.
Yes.
There's an extra $10,000 in there. And that is awarded to us with an expectation of a return on investment. We need to deploy resources. My biggest petition is the ability to maintain continuity. We're a committee of volunteers. And as much as we try to put in the hours, there's only so much you can give. And, the old bromide, you want to get something done, give it to a busy person. We're all busy. We wouldn't be doing this if we weren't busy people. So I'm very concerned about owning up to our side of that bargain. We've had confidence invested in us. They've given us more than we asked for because there is a definite need for us to do some work and see some results. So with that, I'm going to move along now to our strategic plan progress. Number one, strategic objective is promotion and marketing. Cheryl and Wendy, I don't know, Wendy, if you had a chance to look at anything.
What do you mean per?
As far as, any thoughts, any progress thus far on the objective?
Honestly,
You've been away. Cheryl's been kind of carrying.
I've been in crazy world, so.
All right, so we're gonna.
I'm not making any excuses.
No, you don't have
Sorry.
to. Again, so the biggest thing I see there that I would suggest for you and Cheryl, and I know Cheryl is actually working on and collaborating with Jeff from our discussion. Cheryl has adopted the draft document.
Oh, good. Yeah,
I think
on the website enhancements, Wendy, we can probably get that to you since Cheryl may be out of with her mom's passing. We can send that document to you. It's kind of focusing on the EDC website. It's kind of a subset. I think the town's going through a website refresh right now, and there's some work there. So Joe and I've had some conversations with Cheryl about enhancing the website, kind of pulling it forward, making it more of a welcome to Old Lyme. This is how you do business in Old Lyme. Kind of making it more of an enticement to when new businesses come to town versus informative of when the meetings are and things like that. It was more of a
Right.
compliance and maybe for the 5% of us in town who pay attention to that, it wasn't really if I'm if I'm the barbershop guy coming looking at old Lyme, how do I find out how to do that? So I think it's part of Joe's opening the extra $10,000 that if we try to do that, I think our goal, Joe and I discussed, can we recruit 3 new businesses in existing buildings that are vacant today? You know, whether it's the shopping center, the marketplace, Halls Road,
freestanding
Laysville,
buildings.
or Laysville. You know, what would be the multiplier impact on the 10,000? You know, in terms of personal property taxes on the equipment the business may have for the town. You know, are they going to hire employees? The multiplier impact of those jobs, goods and services. So I think that we, as a group, should consider how we could support using existing space in town and helping, whether it's the shopping center or the marketplace or Halls Road, those existing business owners fill their space. And, it's not about building new space or adding on. Let's use what we have in town already to yield it a little higher. So,
Right.
so, all this goes together with the strategic plan in my view. And Cheryl, I think Cheryl, we'll probably sit down with you, Wendy, or email with you and share that plan with you. But I think if we could get that going and maybe next month at April, kind of discuss what we can do. It was just, I think it was a series of things over a number of months that we could do. And again, I think it's a subset of what's happening at the town with their relaunch of their website.
And I also know, Wendy and Jeff, that Cheryl is very interested in moving with the America 250 celebration.
Yeah.
As sort of a major event that can hopefully build some economic energy, for
Well,
us.
we just need to make Old Lyme more inviting.
Precisely.
I mean, all around. I mean, tourism, whatever it may be. I think that it's hard because I don't think we take a hard stance on tourism, and there's, we're not, and I'm trying to bring that into the loop, like when I'm in, the tourism meetings and it becomes hard because there's not a lot to sell, I guess, if you will, to put out there. But we got to get people more involved in trying to make it more inviting. I don't know. Because other towns are doing events, they're doing like all these different things, and we don't do that here.
We have the Memorial Day parade, and that's
Yeah.
about it. And if you look at
that's not inviting to other people outside of our world, right? That's local. We don't do anything to bring people here. We have the, Midsummer's Festival, which is good, but we don't have anything really.
And I do think the America 250 celebration, in reality, we got some serious history here.
Yeah.
We were here,
Right.
So I think that is
But
definitely,
the thing is, that takes money,
Oh,
to
yeah.
do any event or
Well,
any kind of.
There's a 250 committee already and they haven't, and Cheryl's on it. There's only a few people on it. And I would venture to guess that their focus is history because nobody has talked to us about incorporating business into it. And it's already March.
Mhm.
So when would we be talking to the businesses about this? We should have been talking about it
Now.
last March,
Mm.
last March.
Yeah, probably last year. Yeah.
And here we are again, midsummer's right around the corner. We have been talking for years about trying to help our businesses with midsummer and we never do. I mean, we really haven't. We've got a mailing list. We haven't been consistent. We haven't mailed anything to businesses for 2 years. We were going to a couple years ago start doing more with that. Cheryl did have a great document that she had sent out and it was, ways that we could support you. but we never ever followed up with it, and then we got caught up with everything else that we've been doing over the last 2 years. And here we are in a crisis. And when you said Old Line Pizzeria, did you mean Teddy's Pizza?
Teddy's is for sale.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
Yeah,
Oh, I
has
didn't
been
know
for a
that.
while.
Oh, I know.
So it concerns me greatly because we don't need more abandonment, if you will, of enterprises. The grill has been, the Cherry Stones is derelict, but the grill not. And there was talk of the funeral director acquiring and converting the grill to a funeral home. And there seems to be no motion on that. And so I don't know, if anything's happening there, if anybody has any knowledge, but I don't. But okay, so.
Simona, to your point, I think, I agree with everything you said, but I think the document on the strategic plan, there's elements to execute in that plan. So, I think if we kind of embrace that, in terms of outreach and doing things to the businesses, I think it's embedded in the plan, as we talked about that, and we spent a lot of time doing that. So I think we just need to see if we can get things accomplished under our strategic plan, and that would accomplish the items that you brought up.
Well, I mean, I think in history and, this is pre the strategic plan. This time of year, we definitely would be talking about how we're going to be reaching out to the businesses about midsummer and what are we going to be doing? And that's what we would be talking about. So how can we help the businesses with the only one event that we have in town, which is midsummer, really, where a lot of people come from out of town, and we really haven't tackled coming up with a good strategic plan on keeping people in here and doing business while they're here. And now the Arts District has made it even tougher because they have the parking right there in the back of the building. And so it's like people aren't even parking at, before they used to park at Big Y and there were buses, or they parked down the street and there were businesses all along Lime Street and everybody was involved and it was a big thing. But now it's really just focused on the Arts District. So it's not even really a thing for business anymore. So.
Yeah, evidence of what you just said, Mona, was Joe and I participated with Nautilus Architects. And Joe, I'm
Yep.
jumping ahead a little bit, but I'll tell a story. The
Yeah.
folks that own the Nautilus Architects, they wanted to do something at Midsummer Festival, and they were not really given a warm reception to participate, even though they're around the corner. So the husband and wife that run the organization kind of communicated that to Joe and myself and the first select women last week.
Now, what we could do is, I do think it's important that we are building relationships and we're, coming together, whoever has relationships and bringing them together. Like now we've got new owners that own the Big Y Plaza.
Mhm.
They might not even know that this Midsummer Festival is coming up. So how can we get them all excited about it? That's one of the things we would always talk about here at these meetings is, trying to, we would have the QR code and try to get people out there to the businesses. We would bring in the flyers. Well, Wendy one year went around to businesses and created this incredible basket that was representative of all kinds of businesses. So, what can we do?
Can we ask Big Y to be a sponsor? Has anybody
Yeah.
ever done?
Why not?
I can only say no.
I would venture, because I would say, the festival last year was lackluster. There were no food, well, there was a little bit of food element. It was like it seemed like it was going to the wayside, if you
And like,
ask me.
what if Big Y, okay, so we
Yeah.
know when the Arts District is
Right.
playing their Midsummer,
Mhm.
let's just try to get some other people excited to do something in that plaza too, because
Right.
people are coming into town, they're stuck on the road.
Yeah.
They really are stuck on the road.
Yeah.
And you are hungry, you're hungry.
There was
you're
no really
tired, You want
food.
food, you wanna.
Yeah.
And you wanna do other stuff
Well,
too.
maybe Big Y could do a food sponsor. I mean, they could do a whole thing. They do grinders, they do all that stuff. I mean, people were looking for food. Everybody was looking for food.
All right, a Taste
The
of
time
New England
when I
by
was
Big
there, I
Y
mean-
or something like that.
Yeah. We could ask them to
You know,
sponsor. I mean,
you know,
look at
Wendy,
this.
I don't know, come from the Economic Development Committee, or should that request be coming from, I don't even know who's organizing or is
Well, the
leading.
arts, the
the-
arts district
the
does it
Summer
on their
Festival.
own.
Yeah.
See,
Do they
but
ever ask for sponsorship?
Well, that's what you guys are
as a,
saying.
Wendy, as a vote of confidence in what you're suggesting, the town of Southold on Long Island, my brother and sister-in-law live out there.
Mhm.
They have a Winterfest in addition to the Summerfest.
Yeah.
The Winterfest, they had local fish markets, like just handing out raw shellfish, you know, shucking clams and oysters and just giving them out, you know, I mean, so, you know, they have a very successful participation by their merchants.
Yeah,
And it's along the same lines and
like, I don't know who's running, like,
Who runs the Midsummer?
Yeah.
Festival?
They have
Does
their
anybody
own
know?
committee. I think it usually comes
a committee?
out of, I think it usually comes out of the museum too.
because you gotta ask. If you don't ask, you're not gonna get.
But one of the things that we used to do in the past, and we had, I don't know who's got the calendar now, but we would have a calendar of all of the events throughout the year. And we would make sure that we were tracking them, because I think even before Midsummer, there's the Music Now Festival. That's the music when they go strolling up and down Lime
okay.
Street. And when there were a lot of businesses on Lime Street, that was awesome because people could also visit the businesses. But now we don't have an ice cream shop. We don't have any real businesses.
They're selling that other place. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's nothing left.
I've seen a lot of the towns do the stamp books where like if an event's going on, they'll hand out that stamp book and then you gotta go and get the stamps to turn in for. And
yeah.
that's something that's super simple. I mean, you gotta get participants at each of the businesses to do the stamps, but
And a
So,
couple years ago, we tried to get businesses to get excited to do maybe a discount over the midsummer. And then they could go through our QR code, they could go to Explore Old Lyme and they could see who was offering discounts.
so do you think we
That
should
is a
invite the
simple
arts?
thing. I just did that at an event. You just get like a passport it looks like a passport and you have to get stamps at every single place. And then you're entered into a raffle or something. It's super easy to do. I don't know if people would be open for that, but we'd have to have a lot of places for them to go.
Imagine if we did that for the summer. And it was
Yeah.
a summer program.
Yeah,
And then tourists coming in the summertime were then going to at least 10 Old Lyme businesses to get.
yeah,
the
but where do
stamps.
they get the book? Where do they get that?
Well, all the
You know what I
places
mean?
that
All
would
the
be
different
offering the
places.
discounts
Yeah.
have the books. and
Then you
then-
say here, okay, you bought from us. If you go to all these places, you get something else.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
the way to use our money.
So do you think we should invite the Arts Commission to our April meeting to kind of collaborate
Yes.
together and put together a
Yes, I
plan?
think we should, because are they like, are they having trouble doing what they need to do? Like we're having trouble?
No, they got their gig down. They know what they're doing.
No, they don't, because it's going downhill.
I think they're happy with whatever they've got going on, though. I don't think they're complaining.
I felt like it was so much less this year. I don't know, maybe it was just
We
me.
didn't
I
even
just
go
felt,
this year.
huh?
We didn't even go last.
I
year.
was
We went to
at-
the
I
fire.
was-
And people are just not going anymore because it's not any better, or I don't know, maybe it's just me. I
There
just
were-
noticed that there's no food, no nothing. And there was no hubbub.
so I will take it as a mission to invite and see if I can persuade an acceptance to come to our April meeting for the Arts Commission.
Yeah, let's help them,
Yeah,
help.
they could tell us what their plan is.
Yeah.
Maybe they do have something that we don't know about, but if not.
All right.
And then
That's
if
an
they need
opportunity
us to help
encourage them.
get sponsors, we should
And-
get
and,
sponsors.
You know, and speaking to the concerns like, as you've expressed, Mona, that in terms of continuity, that's our biggest challenge is. So I'm thinking, you know, the money that we've been allocated, you know, who might be a person that we could engage, you know, I'm thinking college kid probably would be perfect. You know, a smart college kid might be somebody that could continue the continuity, you know, be given a task, go around to all the businesses.
Yeah.
You know,
Or even the people that bought the Big Red Plaza, like,
Yeah, I
Right?
think that we met with them and I think they're right to be hit up for a sponsorship.
yeah, Why wouldn't they
we-
want
Well,
to?
Right.
I don't know if we.
And then
need
you
to
have the medicine shop
The
that's
medicine shop
going
that's
in there. You've got all of
Well,
that,
so listen,
all new.
my idea would be that we don't need them to do any kind of a sponsorship. Just let them know, hey, this is the date of Old Lime's Midsummer Festival.
Yeah.
You guys have this plaza, you wanted to get filled up. Jump on it and do your own thing that same weekend. Have your businesses do
It's like,
sidewalk
you know, how,
sales.
how can we collaborate, basically?
Yeah, well, if the art district doesn't want to, just have these new owners take advantage of what's going on.
We can make
Same
it
with-
done. Yeah, you're right.
Get people to
Yeah.
be, like, that's what Old Saybrook
Mhm.
does. They do
Yep.
their Old Saybrook days and the whole place, the streets are packed. Everybody goes. Everybody goes. And if the arts district doesn't want to include economic development, so be it. Let's get all the businesses to do their own thing the same weekend. Like, this is the date of midsummer. Actually, it's only one day.
Yeah.
Here's the date. Mark it in your calendar. Get going on it now.
Mhm.
I know when I walked door to door a couple of years ago, all the businesses there were interested. They would like to have some involvement. Just nobody wants to be the leader. So here we've got these new owners. They're going to want their businesses to be successful. Let them figure it out, right? But let's just encourage them and get them going so that they know, because they might not know. And that was really a few years back. That was our goal. There were younger people coming in, starting businesses. Well, let's make sure that they know what the date of this midsummer is so that they capitalize on it.
Okay. All right. I think this is all good because we're getting some of this stuff out and on the table. For strategic plan objective 2, branded signage and wayfinding, Jeff has got the command on that. What,
Yes, well, thank you. So I met with the first select woman and she explained the signage, who owns the signs. There's state signs, I'm sorry, there's federal signs, there's state signs, and there's local signs. There's 2 wayfinding signs at the base of exit 71 and 70 that are a number of years old that need to be enhanced. I think that would be a byproduct of the town's website, which the town is updating the brand handbook, the color scheme and things like that, fonts, things like that. So that signage for the introducing folks to Old Lyme could be, updated once the brand handbook is established in colors and we can update for that. The signs along the state highway that if we wanted to make a introduction, say, okay, now entering Soundview, now entering Laysville, now
Mhm.
entering the Arts District. Some of those signs are under the control, those roads are under control of the state, and we'd have to put forth a request, through the first select woman's office to get the state to approve those. So I think, and then for April, I'd like to bring a mapping exercise of the signs, the 2 signs that we could enhance and potential locations for new signs to introduce folks into the areas of town. So it would be for the commissioners to review, and then we could decide next steps at our April meeting. So I was thinking about a series of signs when you enter into each of these selected areas, whether it's Soundview, again, Laysville, the Arts District, things like that. So put together a sign and kind of mark with rows and mark the locations on that. So,
Yeah.
so I'm sure I'll miss a few. So I'll do the best I can for April. But that's
Yep.
kind of the process. And
Yep.
the first selectman thought that there was someone at the state level that would hear if we wanted to put something that would listen to our case to modify signs on state roads. So I think we have an opportunity
Jeff,
to do that.
does the signage you're talking about include, so, I don't know, you come off of one of the exit ramps that says restaurants this way, beach this way? Does it orient so that when visitors are getting off the highway and they're looking for food, it points
Absolutely,
them
yeah.
toward restaurants?
yeah, that
I'm
was
not
a
sure if
part
it
of,
calls out specific ones.
It just says food,
Food,
gas.
gas, yeah.
I mean,
yeah, but
you know,
from a
as an
consistency
example,
and, go ahead.
we're just thinking as an example, we've got the Hideaway, you know, brick oven pizza. I don't know if that's something we want to put up there or whatever, but
They're gonna have to pay for that.
They would have to pay.
Probably.
Yeah, that's
right?
business.
If it
So-
says brick oven
So-
pizza.
So I don't know if anybody's driven down 156 lately, but I did this morning, and one of the beach communities has their own personal brand new signs that have been put up. Has anybody seen that?
no,
No.
So just past Soundview, I'm not sure which beach it is. I'm looking it up right now. It's not Old Colony because that's before Soundview. So then it goes Soundview and then it goes,
Old Lime Shores, maybe?
no, I'm sorry, I got it back. Old Lime Shores is first, right? Then then
Soundview.
Soundview, then Old Colony, wait. Old
No,
Colony,
no,
Old
Old
Colony.
Colony's also earlier.
Then it goes.
Anyway, past Soundview, I think there's two more beach communities
Mhm.
before
Yep.
Mile Creek.
Mhm.
And one of them has brand new signage out on the street that like it's matching on both sides, so they did their
Entryway.
Mhm.
kind of like.
Is
they
it
have
the
their
one
own-
that goes under the bridge, which is,
I don't think so. I don't know.
Point
I
of
just-
Woods.
I passed, I too, like I can't, why can't I even remember? And I'm looking at my map and it doesn't tell me. But like I went past Soundview and then it wasn't those first couple of streets, but then all of a sudden there were like 4 new street signs.
that's probably Old Lime Shores.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But within
So-
walking distance, like it's right there.
Hmm.
So, you know, and in our strategic plan, we talked about a collaborative process with committees. So, you know, maybe if we come out with some clear guidance from the April meeting from our group, we can start having informal or formal meetings with the committees or areas that'll be impacted to kind of socialize what we're thinking about, to kind of get some buy-in. And then, you know, I mean, we had a 3-year initiative on this. I think we could probably get this done within 3 years. So,
Mm.
but you know, I'm looking for an additional volunteer if anybody would like to work on this with me. So,
I can help. You have to tell me
Okay.
what it is you need me to do, but since I'm
Yeah.
pretty new to this, Jeff, but
yeah, I'll send you our initiative on. Well, thank you on the initiative, and I think it's just accumulating potential points, and maybe you and I meet at the end of March, and we'll you know, get a town map, and we'll just start marking. You know,
marking them out.
Mhm.
Okay.
yeah, and then we'll bring it back to the committee for April 1st. I think that's our next meeting. And
This is
then-
just a random thought, but one of the things I think East Lyme does really well is not just the signage, but they've got the shell. And it's like,
Yes.
you know, not only but you see it on houses, you see it on businesses, you
Right.
see it, like, it's just everywhere.
Right.
So it's
And we've got the Osprey.
Do we have that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean-
We've got the Osprey.
You're
What
you're
do we
spot
do?
on. That
Osprey.
branding.
That's our
the
town seal.
Osprey.
It is?
Yeah.
Osprey.
I would never have known that.
So
I didn't
Wendy,
know that.
I'm
The
like,
town-
yeah, that it is. that,
Yeah, but that's not good.
Yeah, we can't put that on things, can we?
If we don't know it, then, I mean, if we don't know it,
That's.
no one else knows it.
Now you do.
Promotion and marketing. We gotta go after.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So, okay,
all right.
so I
I'm
think,
fit-
I think signage and wayfinding is in excellent shape and Jeff has gotten assistance now, so this is good. Okay, strategic, objective 3, business resource work. Cheryl and Scott are leading that. They're both not here, so we're gonna kind of just table that till the next meeting. Strategic objective 4, economic development and land use process. Mona and Madeline. So what do you guys think?
Go first?
Why don't you go first?
Okay, so the last zoning meeting was like February 9th, and at the meeting, they did discuss the finishing of the stage 1 of the regulatory rewrites,
Mhm.
and they finished that process. They were going to have a public meeting that ended up getting canceled because people could have perceived it to be a public hearing, but it wasn't going to be a public hearing. It was going to be more like an informational meeting. But if the people from zoning came and people asked questions, then it would have been perceived to be a public hearing. So they ended up canceling it last minute. And now they're trying to figure out how to broadcast sort of an apology for that, because I guess a lot of people who were paying attention and wanted to go didn't like the fact that it got canceled. There are, according to the contract, there are going to be at least 2 public forums in the second stages of the rewrite. The first stage was really supposedly to just button up the regulations, not make any changes, but really kind of make sure that there wasn't a lot of extra stuff in there. So kind of going through, getting out the extra stuff, and those are available. And Madeline went through them, so she's going to share information about that. So at their March meeting, they are going to be creating a calendar of future events where the public is going to be invited to participate. They are going to be reaching out to every committee and commission and stuff to come and have input on that, because that's going to be the one where they're really looking at the different zoning regulations, like within the, town, like what's residential, what's business. One thing that I learned, which I didn't know this, but maybe you all did, but over on exit 71, where those businesses are, there's some rule that you're not allowed to have a business where people are coming and going. Like, I didn't know that. So you can't have something where it's like a shop in those businesses.
In the business park,
Yeah. in the
Well, they do
business
have
park.
that.
I
They
thought that-
do,
But I
but
thought. it
they
was-
have
I thought it was just-
nightjar or something like that.
that's East.
No, that's East Lyme.
Oh, that is?
Yeah,
Oh,
our side of the street is the other.
I thought
way.
they could have customers coming and going, but it was limited to the hours that they could do that. But maybe
I don't know, but
Oh.
they were having this kind of side conversation about how somebody was able to get in there and have a lease and have people coming and going, and it really was against the zoning. So I don't know which business they were talking about. I thought it was interesting and something for us to think about, because that
Animal control
that
over there.
would, like, let's say you have to have a company, like, for example, if you have like a printing company and it's just people coming in and they do their job and they leave, but it's not people walking in and out and placing orders.
oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
But there might be an exception for the medical offices because there's doctors there. So you've got people coming and going, seeing doctors. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot more about the different zoning things going on through the process. And we should, right? We should all be a little bit of experts about this, especially because I know we've learned a lot with Lime Street and what happens if a business leaves. And unless somebody takes over the exact same business, then that business now is gone.
So you just said that, what is happening with the ice cream shop? Can someone go in there as a business? Only ice cream is what you,
Well, they're
from me, what you're saying.
They're selling it as a commercial.
Yeah, so the way I read the regs as they're right now, you essentially have to get a special use permit, even if you're planning to use the exact same
Same use.
business. A 6-month process, typically, money, you've got all of this, and they use a standard harmonious, appropriate, and desirable, which is like, basically like we get to decide,
Yeah.
Well,
So it takes 6 months if someone wants to move in there,
which is
which
highly
is the
unusual.
problem right
It's
there.
highly unusual from what I
Okay,
saw
well,
from the other
They
towns.
don't
yeah.
want commercial business on Lime Street unless it's
Makes no sense.
art
Yeah.
or.
We gotta figure out
It's
what
like,
we
it's
want in this
probably
town.
yeah, but that's probably like the single most like impactful thing out of all of the regs that I read was if we can like address that and make some like fast tracks. And even part of it might just be allowing those exceptions, like a like business going in with like business. They don't have to maybe go through that same
Right.
process. You know,
That is-
or even a lot of these businesses, if they have a change on the floor plan right? They're going back in for that special use, right? So are there certain things that we can expand in the regs to say this is reasonable because we want these businesses to come in, especially if you're starting a business, you might only be, using 25% of the space, but you want to be able to grow, when you get that business. And we're putting all these barriers up for people
That's,
as part of the business.
we're not business friendly.
No, we're not. We're not. Were you?
No, go
Okay.
ahead, share with us. I like this lawyer talk.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of these, and it goes to that point that you said about like, what are we gonna be? Because there's some things in here that I'm like, doesn't make any sense for us to go after, right? The fact that they don't want any drive-through or that type of stuff. Probably not something we wanna die on our sword for, but there are things that I think made sense. So that one was one of them. Signage seems to be really, really limited here. So if I'm a business, I want to be able to advertise my business. So if we look at maybe advocating for tweaking some of the signage so that the businesses can actually attract people in the door. They also cap retail at 5,000 square feet. There's a thought, maybe can we move that up a little bit? Because just looking at what a typical business nowadays, that's fairly limited for modern retail formats, but
Yeah, we don't want giant big box stores. but
No.
We certainly can't limit it to 5,000 square. feet.
yeah, that's small.
That's really.
Right, so if we go to 10,000, is that a good balance where we can say, so,
Mhm.
I think that's a reasonable.
And this is something we could probably get good input from the Old Lyme marketplace, new owner,
Yeah,
in terms of what is viable and what is not. If you're trying to, to have success in recruitment and, sustaining of businesses.
yeah. Yeah, what are people out there looking for? Then maybe we can work with them on that.
Mhm.
The other thing that seemed really restrictive is parking.
Yes.
And the setbacks are really interesting to me and the limited on the spaces. So you have like capped at 75 spaces. You have to get a special permit if you don't want to pave, if you want to just use stone for your business, which I would say here, residential or not highly residential area, environmental, you almost think maybe stone is better for some of
Right.
these businesses if there's not, right? So why are we saying you have to pave if you don't want a special
Right,
use?
that's in conflict with stormwater requirements in the state of
management.
Connecticut.
It just,
Yeah.
yeah, that one
Right.
didn't logically make sense to me. And then if we think about the person's, and this is more for new construction, right? You're buying a property and then your setback has to be X, amount, and then you're limited to these spaces, and then you have that, and it's just like it's eating a lot into your availability. Oh, and by the way, you can't have a sign that's this size. So not only do people not see your business,
Right.
they can't see your sign to your business.
What's
Right,
the
it's like-
impervious cover, what's the impervious coverage threshold for the business? Do you know that off the top? Is it, I think that when I read it was very low and not really kind of market.
Ooh, I don't know if I have that off the top of my head.
That's usually, that's a tech, that's something that kind of shrinks your footprint and makes this site unattractive to be developed at
Yeah.
times. Setbacks are reasonable and make sense, but coverage ratios and limits are something that need to be studied.
Now, what does that mean, impervious coverage? Does that mean that, like, let's say you have a set amount, is it a percentage, like you can't cover more than 50% of your
Yeah, I
land
think
or
that's what
something?
it is. So it's building and parking. Usually, I think you actually nailed the number, Mona. It's 50% online. Other towns, it's north of 50, sometimes as high as 75 or 80.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so it helps someone, yield the space a little better and generate some return.
Can I just ask a question, because you guys have been engaging with the commission as they're going through reviewing this.
Mhm.
Are they looking at updating the zoning policies with a mindset that says we want to grow businesses in Old Lyme? Or are they going into it with a mindset that just says, we're just trying to kind of update and refresh them? Because many of the things that you talked about are all things that would be uh, roadblocks
Yes.
to a business that wants to either come into the town or wants to even grow their business within the town. And I think there is a component of townspeople that like that they don't want more business to grow in town. But, and the zoning then policies need to either be aligned with, here's what we want the town to look like 20 years from now, 10 years from now, whatever. And if that is a bit more business friendly, then is that the mindset they're going into writing them, or is it just they're refreshing them? Because we're already going to be pushing a rock up a hill if we aren't aligned with what the town's people and the town government are trying to set as the vision for Old Lyme. Because we have, as you guys have worked on, I wasn't here, an economic development plan. But unless there is support from the townspeople and from the leaders of the town, then it's going to be very difficult to do. And then all the other things have to unpin it. The zoning policies, the wayfinding, the building more advertising for the town and branding for the town. All those things then underpin what that vision is. But how is the zoning commission going into this? Do we know?
The concern that I see is we have, a firewall. Most towns have a combined planning and zoning. The exercise that you're alluding to, Eileen, is what I think of as what's the full development? If the plan is fully implemented, what does it all look like? We don't seem to do that visioning. And I think that's what's needed. And it goes hand in glove with, I think the townspeople of Old Lyme, are pretty much all sympathetic. We like the quality of life here. We don't want to turn it into, some of our surrounding towns that are grossly populated compared to us. And I get that. But I'm also concerned that 95% of the tax revenue is on the back of the homeowners. And I don't think that's healthy for a town, and I'm speaking as a guy that's been here for 41 years now.
Vote things down. We have to stop passing everything that's not going through scrutiny. We need to start voting no more and make people put more pen to paper when it comes to budgets that are ridiculous. Because people just pass things and assume that people are doing a good job, and they're not always doing a good job.
Well, I don't know if they're doing a
Things
good
that-
job or not, but it doesn't feel like there is a
No.
coherent vision for where we're
Yes,
going to go.
yes.
And so I don't know how do you build an economic development
well,
Because
plan?
everybody's working in silos.
Yeah.
Here's an example. We have a light industrial area, which also now, for whatever reason, is now being labeled as light industrial and distribution area. The distribution was by accident.
Out by Kellogg's, you're talking about?
Kellogg, we had a very large distribution enterprise take up station in our light industrial park. Meanwhile, we've had a property buyer, property owner looking to site a massive amount of housing in our light industrial park. That seems like a non sequitur. If the town, in fact, established a light industrial area, I kind of think that's a pretty strong signal that we would like businesses that employ people to be there.
Yeah, I don't think it went like that. I think
I'm just
it's,
saying, why would it be there? Why would we have, and then we've had various external studies done of the town where commercial districts that have organically grown, so sort of like Laysville, Falls Road, the Shoreline Gateway area, these were all kind of organically over time grew. And, that they're right now being challenged by the seasonality of too much of what we've got. In the winter time, many of these businesses just can't, they can't survive the winters is the problem. They need to make enough in the summer to survive the winter. Sadly, one of the models, which we see at Sound View is what I guess in the restaurant and bar trade is called bar forward. a bar forward business selling a lot of liquor, that makes money in the summer and then you can let the tumbleweeds roll around in the winter. And, so anyway, I'm not trying to usurp the role of planning and zoning, but I'd like to think there needs to be more of a, if you will, conjunction between them and this idea of what is the vision, what is the full development. Maybe we can ask that of the select persons.
Eileen, I'd like to comment to your question you raised. I think the strategic plan does reflect a fairly non-controversial plan because we purposely avoided some of those plans. And if you read the plan, it's fairly what I'll call a blocking and tackling best practices plan. It doesn't really take a position one way or the other that it's anti-development, pro-development. It's kind of the best practices for a town's economic development. So I think you're spot on the question you raised about planning and zoning. I think from the strategic plan perspective, it's kind of more of a blocking, tackling, and just kind of best practices to clean up some things.
Which means even if you implemented everything that went into the plan, you won't change where we are. So if we're okay with staying with the 95%, then okay, then that's what we do. But if
That's what happens.
that's what happens.
So,
Well,
And we're not-
having read
nothing else, then
the regs, which
Yeah,
is clear that they haven't been updated in
it's a long time.
50 years.
Yes.
Let's just say that.
Yes.
I think we have to reasonably use this as an opportunity to put things in that are proactive, or at least start to get us to a proactive place. I guess is my thought on it, because who knows the next time these things are going to be reviewed again.
so one of the things that we did before the strategic plan was just looking at, what are the different business areas? Where are the industrial commercial areas? And what's the tax base? So it's less than 5%. Comes from commercial, so over 95% of our tax base. This was as of a couple of years ago, was coming from commercial businesses, which now we've lost a lot in the last couple of years. So that revenue will be going down. And we've also talked about developing this relationship with zoning so that we understand and they understand that we want it to be easier for people who are coming into these business industrial areas to be able to come in and open up a business. Like, for example, we know that there was a pediatrician that's opening up over in the Laysville area. We don't know why, because we weren't working with her, but it took a long time from the time that we heard that she was first going to try to get the approvals until she was able to get in. And, that is a huge barrier for people if they don't have a ton of money, if it's going to take some time, if it's not a huge business with lots and lots of money. So in phase 2 of this zoning regulatory rewrite, this is where they're inviting in groups like economic development to work with them. I don't think that their goal is, from what I hear at their meetings, I don't believe it at all is to have this top-down approach. I believe that they want community input on how to make it the best for the town. And let's just say that we never get more than 4 to 5% of our tax revenue from businesses. Let's just make sure that those businesses can be successful. That's what I think.
So I understand what they're trying to do, but you just got an increase in your budget that went from, you asked for 7, they gave you 10.
Right.
What was the expectation in getting that budget? Was it to just retain the businesses we have, or is there expectation that we're growing?
I think it's both. I think the expectation is to retain, and support our existing businesses, but to add businesses.
They
'Cause
want
We've lost businesses.
Well,
Yes.
We're
the
starting at a deficit. I mean, and not even with that, Joe, not even with the blight complaints from Soundview, when the Soundview Gateway Commission started 3 years ago, nothing has gotten any better except for that one dilapidated building that got redone and it turned residential from commercial, right?
Right.
So one building has changed. Nothing else has changed in 3 years of that Gateway.
Well, two, the service station was resurrected. but that was done by a
No.
private citizen.
More than 3 years ago, though.
I don't know. Mo.
Definitely was.
Really?
Definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I know that my daughters made me take them there to get ice cream when we go from the beach, and that was before they could drive. And
Mhm.
now one of them is turning 19, so it definitely was more than 3 years ago.
Well, I'm not talking the one, I'm not.
Oh, you're talking about Rand Automotive?
Yes, what is now Rand Automotive.
Well, that's probably been 2 years.
Yeah, I'm saying that was derelict, that was derelict.
Okay.
And, it was
So
a private
two
citizen.
things have
Right,
changed.
private
So-
citizen did that, and a private citizen did the other one.
Sorry, I didn't mean to take us completely off topic. Jeff,
No,
you
but
were
I
saying-
want to respond. I think you're another great point. Yes, we're getting $10,000. We should try to have a 4x minimum multiple on that, $40,000 of new economic opportunity. And I think that we should, in order to do that, you have to probably recruit 2 or 3 businesses, which will have personal property, which will be taxed, which will have jobs created, which will have, payroll that they'll pay, and they'll spend money, and hopefully they'll hire local residents, and they'll go to, the pizza place and buy pizza, so that the economic impact, the direct and indirect, to that 40 grand. So we should, work, whether it's the marketplace or the shopping plaza or Halls Road, to recruit 3 businesses from in the existing
Yeah,
buildings,
yeah.
and it'll certainly exceed the 4x multiple of 40,000 if you look at the employment multipliers, the indirect for the people that spend, and what they spend in goods that certain the businesses buy. So that should be, if they're going to
And-
entrust us to try to do that, I think we have a responsibility to steward the money appropriately.
And Jeff, that's a perfect lead in to strategic objective 5, which is commercial district support, which is me. And if anybody wants to help me, I would be interested in maybe some help. The Shoreline Gateway Committee that I represent our position of Economic Development Commission for Shoreline Gateway. It's completely stuck until the resolution of the sewerage, water and sewer is the impediment to anything happening down there. And whether, if you look at Shoreline Gateway and then furthermore, Sound View, there is basically properties that are just being banked. They sit there, they're banked. And why? Because a developer is not going to put in a community septic system, which would be the ideal case, but which, by the way, is what Old Saybrook is doing in a big way. Because if they put that in and then sewering is mandated, what are you going to double pay? Not going to happen. And meanwhile, the whole thing is stuck. I did invite the Board of Select Persons to come and talk to us about what's going on in the way of this whole sewer debacle that continues to go on for years and years and years. And, they weren't able to come, but let's see what happens with that. So that's a big deal as far as the Shoreline Gateway. I think that until that wastewater issue gets resolved one way or the other, it's basically forcing a moratorium on any
It's nonsense.
progress.
Nothing.
Yeah, nothing's going to happen. Speaking to what Jeff was just elaborating, the idea that we have to now own up to the confidence that the Board of Finance has put in us. Right now, we're talking to 3 potential businesses, new businesses, to come to town. One is a restaurateur, one is a personal care salon, and the third is a manufacturer. That would go.
When
into
you
the
say
lineup.
we, who's we?
Is me at this point, and Jeffrey. We
Yeah,
have been talking.
they call us if you wanted to be included when they had the meeting. Like we had a meeting last week in Nautis Architects. It was impromptu. You just go on the Zoom and listen and ask how you can help. So it shouldn't
Yeah,
just
if
be
anybody
limited
wants
to
to say,
the
if
2
anybody
of
wants to
us.
help me. Because
Yeah.
the concern I have, for example, the manufacturing business. Perfect manufacturing business. They want to be confidential about what they do and who they are, but very low need for water and sewer. Doesn't make stink, doesn't make noise, employs a fairly large number of people, high tech.
What's preventing them from coming into Old Lyme?
The inability for me to chase them and hammer them until I get them to come and visit the town. They're currently in another town. They want to expand. Where they are, they're getting the usual like we do. Oh, no, this is a non-compliant, this is non-conforming, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. I'm like, come to Papa. You know, we've got a light industrial area. There's no constraints that they're presently enduring constraints on where they are. They want to expand. They've had the benefit of state support to some degree that's not adequate to solve their problem. We have space in the light industrial area that would be perfect for them. However, you know, I don't have I'm busy with other things besides this. So, you know, I need continuity to keep, you know, it's going to be just a matter of like, you know, not in marketing. I've always, I ran an engineering practice for 35 years, and you want to market your services. And there are times where you need to keep pressing and pressing, like use me, use me. You don't want to cross the threshold of being a pain in the neck, but you kind of almost have to test it to get the attention. And
Is the
that's
property owner not doing that? I mean, I don't know who owns the light industrial area that you're talking about.
Yeah,
They've already identified.
I've talked with the property owner, very high pressure. I don't want to, I think they would cross the line and make the, you know, the potential business say, don't call me again, you know, don't call me about it. So it's a dilemma, and I'm keeping after it, right? The other thing that I do is I'm going to attend the Yale Ventures. They have a summit meeting in New Haven. A lot of manufacturers go there and present. It's very heavily geared to like startup companies. And a lot of it is tech type companies that are relatively clean and appropriate, you know, for our industrial area. So I'm earnestly trying to see what I can do to recruit, you know, businesses that I think are appropriate. And I would like help with that if anybody wants to help me
What you said, there were 3 businesses.
right now.
So, and you said one's a restaurant.
One's a restaurant, one is a salon type business that would be appropriate for the marketplace. And the third is a manufacturer. It's a high tech aerospace geared manufacturing business. So, you know, that's what I'm seeing as the things that I feel are critical for commercial district support is number one, you know, recruiting new blood into the commercial district, you know, as we have, whether it's the light industrial park or it's our concentrations of the Laysville, the Hall.
So do we need to be networking with realtors who recruit for commercial, like corporate, because they're the ones that are working with businesses. too.
Yes, Mona, you're spot on. I mean,
But
that's
then
one.
there's always been that conflict, you know, here at the meeting where if somebody's on our commission and they're a realtor, they've got to not cross some line where they're, you know, taking advantage of business opportunities. I don't know, there's some line with that.
Mm.
So we can't necessarily work with just one realtor. We'd have to work with a lot of
Correct.
realtors, but building up those relationships with them. I mean, that's just really just making phone calls, right?
Yeah.
But also knowing
There's-
what's available.
There's that also business brokers where typically, very commonly, it's like family owned businesses where there's no succession plan.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the family just wants to cash out what they've got. And there are brokers. So for example, like a bakery, that's also on my list of, I have researched who might be candidates who could open a bakery in town. And the question that I have with that is that do we have enough retail traffic to support a bakery? But I think we do. And, I went out and I researched, and frankly, I can even tell you, I mean, I looked at bakeries that are of appropriate scale, sort of like boutique-like bakeries. New York City, my goodness, there's, hundreds, but I've narrowed the list down to maybe a dozen that I think would be targets that we could approach. Boston, there's 3. Hartford, there's 3. But, okay, how do you pursue this? You need to reach out to the owners of these bakeries. Some of them are interested maybe in franchising. So that would be like an ideal case where if somebody's got a very successful business model of a bakery, could we let them franchise that into, in other words, they've already got the working business model. it's kind of like Sift from Mystic.
Right.
Notice how they set up shop in Watch Hill. They set up shop in Niantic. Bingo, so again, but there's work involved in identifying and approaching and, selling and cajoling. And that's where it kind of unravels for a volunteer commission. There's only so much time I got.
Right, and that's a full-time job. But can we take like that $10,000 and put it into marketing and put it into some online marketing where we could get the most outreach
And this is,
Absolutely.
and have someone do that?
I'm totally on board. That's why I'm saying maybe let's put,
So let's
think about this and come
here,
to our.
Old Lyme is the best place for this or that or whatever. I mean, we shouldn't be doing, there's no way you can do that. There's no way I can do it. I'm gonna be honest, I can't.
No, I mean,
doing
just doing the research,
Right.
on the whole bakery thing.
Right,
I'm probably in
But
for, I
that's-
probably invested 100
Right.
hours in searching, looking at bakeries. And the next step really would be going to, for example, Secretary of State, of, let's say, New York or Connecticut or Mass or whatever, and say, okay, who's the principals? Who's the owner?
Yeah. but I think you're overthinking it. I think you could put something on social media and would do somebody that is really good at marketing, that does that for a living. And they could they could get influencers, there's so many things we could be doing
Right.
that way. Or
And you can buy a
short-sighted.
pay-per-click program that says, business relocation online and PPC campaign. You could help
Yeah.
identify the keywords,
Yes.
Wendy, and with Cheryl,
Yes.
and we can just buy that and
Right.
So let's think about this, and when we come to our next meeting, let's put some ideas on the table. How do we do
And
this?
it doesn't,
The
here's,
best way to
here's the
reach
one
the
thing
most
though,
people.
and where we're at right now with the state of business in our town, just realistically, and nothing that we're talking about tonight could have changed this. We're losing a lot of businesses right now. And part of that is just life too. People need to retire. They want to move. They're done. And
Mona, you're very correct in that. I think a lot of it with the smaller family-owned businesses is it's a lot of work. And if
It's
they've got
terrible.
offspring that don't want to do a lot of work, boom, it's done.
yeah. So we're starting in a place too where it's like, big businesses right now for us, are leaving. They're just not, Teddy's isn't so big, but we're losing Teddy's. Whatever. We should have a list of all the businesses that we lost as something to look at is like, we hope to replace them all,
I think the key is, we let it go too far. For example, like Cherry Stones. That was a successful enterprise year round for a very long time. I'm going to say for, I don't know how long, Jeff, you've been in town or.
I lived in town for 11 years and it's been a dilapidated piece of crap as long as I've been here.
Prior to
So-
that. No, but I'm going to say, honestly, I'm going to
Has it been
say,
dilapidated the 30 years?
No.
no way. No, it's in the order of like that. I moved to town in 1984.
Something.
And I'm going to say that it was 20 years or more that was an ongoing,
Yeah.
successful business.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say it closed 15
it was
years ago.
fun.
Yeah, I mean, we
They had
would
entertainment.
go there. People would go there. And it was,
It got bought and then the new owner didn't do anything with it and they took all of the antiques and all the good things out and they just left it there to rot. That's the story I've heard.
Right.
I don't know if it's true,
So,
but
so
that's the
why
story
did
that
it,
I've
why
heard.
did it get sold, in the first place? It's like, so, for example, recruiting an appropriate buyer would have been the way to prevent that from going into oblivion. And I don't know if that's really part of what we should be doing as a commission, but that would have been the solution. Same thing with Teddy's. What happens if Teddy's can't find a buyer?
Then we might lose that business.
Correct.
But we have a brand new pizza business over in the Hideaway Plaza.
Yes.
And we've got Sapore up on the Post Road. And so maybe those two will be more successful and another type of restaurant will come in.
Mhm.
Maybe.
So some of it, like, we're kind of, what we're getting to is that the ability to maintain a continuous effort to market and to do some visioning also is what we need to be doing to prevent the loss of ongoing, existing businesses that say, the owners want to retire, want to move on.
But in the process, we can pat ourselves on the back because we did help a little bit with the expansion of Kellogg, right?
Mhm.
We came
Yes.
in and
We
so
support
that's gonna
them.
be more tax revenue
Yep.
because now they're expanding. So that's a good thing,
All right.
right?
No, I'm,
I also think though that this is tying it back to the very beginning, we were talking about the zoning is, you're just talking about a bakery.
Right.
And I don't know where you're talking about putting this. With the zoning policies or practices or the policies that we have in place, would they even support a bakery right now? Because if not,
wasting our time.
you're wasting your time looking
Yeah.
into.
And if it takes 6 months to get approval,
To get approval, forget it,
then just say goodbye.
because they have,
There's no-
they'll have other options.
Yeah.
Like, even the Kellogg piece. I lived near that area. There was a lot of resistance to them there, even though it is already
Mhm.
zoned for
Industrial.
light industrial. In the end, I think it has worked out okay.
Mhm.
But, the neighbors around them are going to push back on the zoning if they have to get a permit for something, unless it's already aligned with what's already in the zoning regs. So understanding where you want to put a salon, is it
Mhm.
already, I mean, if it's a business, if it's a like for like, then you got to assume, okay, the zoning would support
Well,
it.
the like for like turns into a 6-month exercise.
Yeah,
Shouldn't be.
That's one of the new provisions that I think the like and like can you just have that be a shorter, but those are little tweaks that I think we can
We can influence.
recommend. Yeah. And so from a next steps perspective on my side, I think I'm going to take some of the stuff that I worked on and try to here's the language that I would do and
Mhm.
be able to send that out to you guys so you can get a little bit of better. The one thing I didn't talk about that I think would be helpful is they're really restrictive on home businesses, like e-commerce, that type of stuff. There's a lot of revenue you can get from that. And then any pop-up type business, like having ability to have pop-ups.
So I started my business at my engineering practice out of a back bedroom in my house.
Okay. So you
Okay.
know how restrictive it is, 25% of your home and can't be more than 2 people and
And
Yeah.
I parlayed that, into employing 10 full-time and 10 part-time people in town.
yeah.
So it's like, gee, we need to let people who want to, who are entrepreneurial enough to start an enterprise, let them start, help them grow. It's like, okay, you don't like, residential home businesses, great, but let them start there, because what am I going to do? Go out and rent office space when I don't know where my next dollar is coming from?
It's difficult. So what about a bigger picture? It's hitting up efficiency and saving money for the town about, this elimination of planning and a separate zoning. There has to be some dollar savings if you didn't have meetings and people attending meetings and that the time aspect that Madeline discussed.
Mhm.
Is that something that, from a business perspective, does that align with shrinking the time frame it takes and having, kind of a one commission versus 2 from an efficiency perspective?
I think that, the idea of all of this denial of approvals is costing taxpayers money to have people, reading proposals and, reconciling against regs, right? There's a
Yeah,
lot,
and
there's a lot.
I can't even imagine the amount of money businesses are spending to try to put these things
Yeah,
together.
The businesses that Jeff and I have spoken with, they all have the same opinion. Old Lyme is not friendly to businesses. That's not a reputation we want.
And
We already
I'm
have
not,
it.
I'm not
It's really-
speaking,
I don't think
I'm
that's
not
true. I think
speaking
some
based
people do
on
want us to have
case.
that reputation.
Yeah, but that we've had the
We have it,
reputation,
yeah.
yes. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, it's just from an efficiency. I'm not opining on any decisions made by
Right,
zoning or
right.
planning. It's just an efficiency comment and a cost savings comment.
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
well, one
so
of the provision. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm finished.
Say one of the provisions that I saw that was interesting was all right, let's say they don't want to get rid of the special permit for it, but then put a certain time frame if they don't respond. That way they can see it. If it's something that they want to pursue, they can pursue it. If not, then it gets a
Yes.
fast track. So
Yes.
it's like, I think there's ways that we can craft this that doesn't feel like we're saying, oh, we have to like lift this and make it a lot easier for everybody, but that way they can focus a little bit more on those high value things.
All right.
Well, and I think that ultimately, and I think this is probably something that all of us have maybe wanted to see more of, is if people who wanted to start a business, if they came to us and we could help them, then we'd all feel good. You know,
Oh,
it's
yes.
just that
Oh, yes.
people don't know they can come and talk to us and we could try to help them.
Yeah.
But
So,
if that were a thing in Old Lyme, if economic development helped people who wanted to start businesses,
Yeah, but that's on our time. Like how are we gonna do that? Just saying, I'm just saying,
well,
I,
by
from
participating
a-
now with this changing with zoning, it's not, we've been talking about zoning, which we're not on zoning for a very long time.
right,
Remember a couple years ago when you and I were at the tent and person after person coming up talking about how they get stopped at zoning and hearing
It's true.
that story, Old Lyme is not business friendly. So now we have this opportunity. Zoning is doing this. They're going to talk to us. They're saying they don't want to.
what I think is really crucial, what is crucial with this is that if the regulations are prescriptive and a business developer owner, has clarity on what you can and cannot do, as opposed to everything is special permit or special meeting or, hey,
Yeah. And even we need to have clarity on everything. Like I don't know much about anything when it comes to zonings and regulation and stuff like that. So I'm glad that Madeline can look at this and she understands the laws and the regulations
so not to,
and Jeff too understands that more from his own work and development and reading and all that kind of stuff, because I don't really understand that, but
Yeah.
when you explain it to me, I do. And it's important that we know those things. What kind of businesses can go in places and what can't. I never even thought about how bizarre it is to have a housing development plan for a light industrial area. It never even crossed my mind.
yeah, isn't that, think about it, is that a non sequitur or
I
what?
never really thought about it. I just thought, hey, everybody wants affordable housing, I didn't really think about it at all.
Mona, the two public forums that are planned for zoning,
They're gonna let us
they're gonna let us,
know in March, they're gonna do their planning at their March meeting,
okay,
and then they're gonna let the public know.
okay.
So they know that they have to, well, they know that it's important
Because I
for
want to go
them
to that.
to
yeah.
reach out to the community and start getting
Okay.
people on board with
All
what
right.
they're doing.
All right, moving along, I usually try to hold these to an hour, so I'm apologizing, but we've had a lot of good discussion.
Yeah.
And I think that, the strategic plan is the framework that's going to let us be more effective in making progress. The regional events and updates, this Luxury on the Move car show, May 31st. Nautilus Architects, who is in the plaza where Webster Bank is, they actually took over what was Nina Peck's office. Nina Peck is an architect in town, who's a friend. So they took over her office and they're organizing a very, very high-end car show. We're talking like exotic cars.
where,
And at their shopping plaza. And they were
It's
also,
co-promoted with All Pro Auto as well.
yes, All Pro Auto is part of it. They were talking about some kind of potentially a parade of these vehicles.
can you send me information on that so I could give it to the Board of Tourism?
Yes,
That
yes,
would
yes,
be,
yes.
Yeah, people.
I
who
mean,
like
I
car
need
shows, they
content.
love
I've
car
been asking for content and then there's no content,
Wendy, are you
31st,
on
that's probably
Instagram?
Memorial Day weekend too.
Am
Are
I
you on-
what?
Are you on Instagram?
I am.
There, it's on there. You could repost
It
it from
is?
there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll provide that to the state of Connecticut and then they can put it on their website. Those are the things that need to
Yeah.
be visual and,
Okay, so, and then the second thing is, we have, courtesy of the River Cog and our membership, we have community resource management. offering, consultant on-call services. Their principal is Dale Croup, who was a longtime economic development commissioner, planner for I think Hamden, Connecticut. So the question is, and this is something I just wanted to get on the table, how can we use these, this consultant resource? And I'm thinking right now, a lot of it's going to hinge on this whole idea of the vagueness of zoning regs and the vagueness of what does this town really want? From a citizenry and government, a representative government, what do we want? And I'm thinking that, Jeff, what do you think? That's kind of what I'm thinking now is the best way to.
I would go back to what we just spoke about. I hate to be accounted to that, but helping us, double down that 10,000, make that 10,000, 20,000, and let's recruit businesses over the next year. The zoning thing, another consultant on there, I'm not sure how successful, but I would ask the group to consider maybe helping us with business recruitment. What can we do? Are we thinking about everything? So I would throw that one up.
All right.
Thank you for asking.
So I'm just, I'd like to just table that other, just let's think about that one and come to our next meeting with some ideas on how to use this resource. All right.
Is there a link or something that we can find out what kind of expertise they have? Like how you want to deploy them may depend on.
The principal, Dale Croup, is on LinkedIn, so you can see what his background is. And I don't know how large a company, if it's a sole proprietorship or if it's more, but it's community. It's in the agenda. Community Resource Management.
Yep.
They do have a website.
Yep.
Sorry. So, and next item on the agenda is retention of in-town talent, school to career. As part of, this is kind of something I'm very big on because I've said it before, I'm repeating myself, I know, but we can't allow a brain drain. We got really smart kids coming out of the school system. Let's keep them in town. It'll solve this whole problem of new businesses.
There's nowhere for them to go.
So exactly. So part of the manufacturing business that I'm trying to recruit, I'm taking a note on how Connecticut became the richest state of the 50. Well, back in the 48, I don't know by the time Alaska and Hawaii came along if we lost all of our wealth. But we were a giant industrial, and we had industrial clusters or concentrations, New Britain, the hardware city, Waterbury, the brass city. Well, guess what? Virtually every part of the state was just chock-a-block with manufacturing enterprises, which making widgets is better than printing money. Printing money is, counterfeit money is illegal, but cranking out widgets at, $100, $100 coming out of the back of a factory makes money. So what I'm looking at is the manufacturing business that I'm interested in is an aerospace technology, and it's into advanced materials that can be used for lots and lots of other things, but it requires expertise. So I'm seeing can we recruit that, that business and maybe similar businesses and weave that into the educational program so that the kids graduating high school actually might be somewhat familiar with what this technology is. And if they choose to continue their education or they choose to, go the technical to whatever, whether they go college or technical school, but the right industrial concentrations really play, because what it does is it spawns, just kind of like, again, in the biology, life sciences, right? You get certain clusters that evolve and it just keeps growing. And I'd like us to do that. So I think the school to career part of it, the high school for the newcomers here is totally on top of technology and engineering education for the high school students, the ones that are interested in that area. And, I think the best thing we can do is, can we come up with the right industrial clusters, if you will, of industries appropriate to the town and build on it. So that's kind of what my thoughts on that. And that's all I got for that one. And new and other business. Anybody have any new or other business? Bless you, sorry.
I have the things for sale on our free Crexy site. So we have Old Lime Landing still for sale, 4 million. Teddy's Pizza Palace, 895,000. The business Snap Fitness is for sale for 50. The ice cream shop is for sale for 550,000. And the Patricia Spratt is 1,395,000. What's for lease? Hold on. I won't make you share the screen, Joe. Old
Okay.
South Shore Landing is $15 a foot, triple net, and 57 Hatchets Hill Road is $15, triple red. So if you need a 2,000 to 4,000 square foot office, there's some availability. That's my new business.
Okay,
And I'm sure there's plenty of openings on the Big Y Plaza too. There's always stuff there, but we might not see it necessarily.
well, for
Well,
Yeah,
example,
they,
like
they,
bank,
they
yeah,
have
the
their own, they have their own
jump store.
brokerage arm or,
Yeah.
and I don't know where they list
Yeah,
those.
'cause
So yes,
for
that's not it.
example, the former Bank of America building,
Yeah.
that's empty for a good while now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, that's all I have. So do I have anybody moving for adjournment?
Make a
Okay.
motion.
I'll
Eileen
second.
moves. Wendy seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none. Vote for adjournment.
All-
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you so much.